काउंसिल ऑफ इक्वल्स है, हम सारे मिलके रूल करेंगे, इट वुड बी अ डेमोक्रेसी। लेकिन अंदर से सारे सोच रहे थे ये सारे जरा मसरूफ हो जाए ना, मैं फिर आके मैं रूलर बनूंगा कॉस्मोस का। सो देन फिर उन्होंने क्या किया कि अब ज़्यूस जो था वो चीखना चिल्ला रहा था अपने रूम में, एंड देन देयर वाज दिस Nereid. They're Poseidon's special creatures. But the Nereid Thetis. Now people might know him as Achilles' mom. She was Achilles' mother, and she was a former wife of Zeus, because there was this prophecy about Thetis that her son would be greater than his father. So Zeus, obviously, he said, okay, no, nobody can be more powerful than me. You have to go. So then Thetis married Peleus, and then they had Achilles, who was greater than Peleus himself. So that prophecy was settled there. So now Thetis, she heard him, and she was like, okay, that looks like trouble. She went in there, and she saw what was wrong, and then she was a nymph, obviously. She couldn't, untie the chains herself. So she called this, if anybody knows about how the world was created, the Greek world, how they thought it was created, they might know Gaia and Ouranos. Now Gaia and Ouranos had these triplets, the 100-handed ones, hecatonic fairies. One of them, Briareus, they had like 100 hands and 50 faces. I know that sounds gruesome. I don't even know how it's possible to have 100 hands and 50 faces. But anyways, he did. Then she called him up, and then she untied him. And then Zeus went and was like, okay, now we got some explaining to do. Now how he punished them was he hung Hera over the abyss of chaos. Now chaos is also a word that we get from Greek mythology. It literally means the gap or the opening. In mythology, it means the gap or the opening. So he hung her over chaos. Now, Athena, she was the goddess of wisdom. She must have done some clever talking, and she got out of it. She went away punished. Usko koi saza nahi mili. Then Poseidon. Now he gave Poseidon a really funny punishment. He stripped away his immortality. He made him immortal, and he sent him to King Laomedon. Now King Laomedon was the king of Troy. So the walls around Troy were actually built by Poseidon. He built the walls of Troy, and then he went to Laomedon. He was like, okay, what about my reward? And he was like, reward? What reward? And yeah, but now Poseidon had promised that he wouldn't, annoy the Trojans or destroy them. But he did send the Trojan sea monster there. Perseus, I think, killed the Trojan sea monster. The Troy's walls were built by Poseidon, and in the Trojan War, Poseidon was not on the side of Troy because of the whole thing. So I think that this is kind of political. It's like kind of political, all of them teaming up against Zeus and trying to overthrow him. But then Thetis comes to his rescue, and then do you guys feel as if it's kind of as if it's like a strategy that is also being used today in our own country actually? And there is like a whole mention of this story in the Iliad, book 1. It's quite long. I wouldn't read the whole thing because it's too long. But Achilles is telling his mom, okay, you did all of that for Zeus, so now go get the favor back. Now this is now another one that we have is another interesting story, as I like to call it, Agapan and Typhon. Now, Agapan and Typhon. This story is kind of, I think it's undermined. Now, everyone knows about Typhon and Zeus, I'm pretty sure. Typhon and Zeus, it's a famous story, generally. It's mentioned in quite a lot of works. It's mentioned in Hesiod's stories, Aeschylus' stories, Pindar's and Apollodorus. But I like Apollodorus' version better, and that's what we're going to discuss. So there was this monster that Gaia created. Now the Olympians had defeated the Titans. So now Gaia was angry because Gaia was their mom. She was like, okay, you defeated my sons, even though Zeus was her own grandson. She didn't care about it. She was like, okay, now you're gonna be punished. So she sent a monster she sent a monster up there who was called Typhon. He had snakes for fingers. I don't know how he ate food, but he had snakes for fingers. And Zeus. Okay, so now there is this funny thing that comes in here. All the gods fled to Egypt as animals. They fled to Egypt as animals, and that's probably why the Egyptian gods have half animal and half human form. That's what some people say. So the gods fled to Egypt, but Zeus remained. He was like, okay, I'm the king of cosmos. It has its downside as well. He went there and he tried to blast Typhon. It wouldn't work. And what Typhon did was he had his snake fingers tore up into Zeus's body, and he took away his tendons. I know it's quite gruesome to imagine, but godly tendons apparently were very useful. He took the tendons away, and then Zeus, the rag doll, was left there. Then Hermes and the god. This was a minor god. Now, I would like to emphasis on the fact that Aegipan and Hermes both, they were minor gods, and they weren't even part of the Olympian Council. They were like undermined. They weren't huge heroes. What I'm trying to say is that they weren't huge heroes. They were just minor gods there. They just had immortality. Now, Aegipan was a satyr. Do any of you know what a satyr is? A satyr, a half goat, half human. Yes, they were in like Greek mythology a lot. They're mentioned a lot throughout Greek mythology. There was Apollo and the satyr he played alive, and then there were many satyrs around. So this satyr, he was immortal. That was his specialty, and that was it. So what Aegipan and Hermes went, and they saw Zeus. They was like, oh, what a pitiful state for the ruler of our cosmos, isn't it? And then they went to Typhon, and now Typhon was this huge monster. He was wreaking havoc everywhere he went, causing weather disruptions. His main goal was to overtake Olympus. He wanted to take over Olympus. He wanted to be the ruler of the cosmos with his pretty wife Ecmeda, who was also a monster. And so he went up there. He tried to go there, but then Aegipan, he had like pipes around his neck, playing pipes, and he played the pipes, and it created such a friendly sound and everything. But Typhon was confused. Okay, that's not an explosion. That's not screaming. What's that I hear? He went there. He saw this small satyr thing playing the pipes, and he was okay. You're not afraid of me? He was like, oh, I didn't notice you. Now, which is really ironic, because how could he not notice something so huge? He was there, and he was like, okay. Aegipan treated him as if he weren't a big deal. And so Aegipan said, and then Typhon told, when I rule Olympus, you can be my court musician. And then Aegipan, he was okay, but this animal guts thing, this don't work. I need something more strong and more powerful so that I could, string such a majestic tune there. So he said, okay, I have just the thing. Typhon gave him the sinews of Zeus. As gruesome as they might have been, Aegipan picked them up. And then when Typhon was a bit busy. And then what happened was that Aegipan put Typhon to sleep with his music. He sang him something, and then he fell into a deep sleep. And then Hermes and Aegipan, they took the sinews back to Zeus. And then they were all, collectively, they were able to defeat Typhon. And now there is an interesting story. You might know Mount Etna. It is a volcano. So what Zeus did was that he was blasting Typhon in his sleep. And then he picked up the Mount Etna and he threw it over Typhon. And that's why it's a volcano. With Typhon causing eruptions now and then. So, another interesting fact in the story is that Typhon, now it might ring some bells. It might be typhoon. We've heard about a typhoon, right? The weather thing that comes up often. So that came from here. It's derived from this typhoon. So obviously, because they both cause destruction and annoy people in general. So I think